Good afternoon from Los Angeles, the USC campus. My name is Laura Hartman, and I am on the graduate programs team here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering. I'm going to give you a brief introduction before I introduce our special guest speaker, who is Professor and Chair Dr. Gaurav Sukhatme from Computer Science. And if you're joining us today, then hopefully you are interested in our PhD programs in computer science. So we'll go ahead and get started, and then I'll be introducing Dr. Sukhatme in just a few minutes. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. So hopefully you are hearing me now. If not, you can read this, and you'll see that you can listen either through your computer speakers, or you can go to the Event Info tab to dial in. So you can listen either way. Also, you will get a copy of the presentation slides. We'll send those shortly after the live event. We'll send those to you by email. And you certainly can ask questions during the presentation. We just ask that you actually hold off on questions until the end of the presentation slides so that we can give you our full attention. And then we ask that you use the Q&A panel, which is located to the right of your screen, and you should see a Q&A button, one of the icons at the top of your screen. So I'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to introduce you to the University of Southern California, USC. I'll also talk more specifically about the Viterbi School of Engineering. Then, as I said, we have a special guest for you, one of our faculty members, Dr. Gaurav Sukhatme. He is the Dean's Professor and Chair of the Computer Science Department, and he also holds a joint appointment in electrical engineering. Some of his research interests include robotics, and I'm sure he can tell you more about those areas as well. I also want to let you know we do have a guest panelist as well. She is our PhD advisor, and her name is Liesl De Leon, so she can also assist with the Q&A for those of you interested in applying to PhD. The University of Southern California, we are the oldest private university in the western United States. We were founded in the year 1880. If you do come to our campus, what you'll find is a very diverse student population. So we actually have, we are one of the campuses in the U.S. with the most international students of any other university, and you'll find that our diversity is really reflected in Los Angeles as a whole. So we do certainly welcome students and scholars and faculty from around the world. We have 18 professional schools at USC, so that includes everything from medicine to business to policy and even our new school of dance. And our engineering school is actually one of the largest and one of the oldest of the schools on the USC campus. USC is located right in the heart of Los Angeles, so we are about 2 miles from downtown LA. You can easily jump on the metro line here and get to the western neighborhoods of LA or to downtown pretty quickly. And we do have a large alumni network. So we actually currently have 365,000 Trojans, and the alumni network is certainly an opportunity for you to expand career connections, personal connections as well. A little bit more about Los Angeles. I could certainly give you a lot of information on LA. Some of the things I will tell you is there's lots to do here. Everything from cultural and educational activities, entertainment activities as well. I can tell you I do know what it's like to live and work here and also to study here. So I'm recently a graduate of the USC's School of Communication. So beyond all of the fun and exciting activities there are for students here at USC and Los Angeles really provides a real-world laboratory for our students, especially our PhD students. And hopefully Professor Sukhatme will tell you a little bit more about how USC is tied into all the industries here in Southern California. So LA also provides a number of internship and career opportunities for our graduate students. Moving on to the Viterbi School of Engineering, this is a picture of our E-Quad, our engineering quad, and that's a lovely place to take a lunch, to meet with your fellow students or professors. So what you'll find at USC, lots of great outdoor green space for you. So it's a very outdoor-friendly campus. Some points of distinction about the Viterbi School. We did begin engineering in 1905. We have about 4,800 graduate engineering students, so that's engineering and computer science, 4,800. That includes our master's and our PhD. But about a third of those are actually online students in our Den at Viterbi program. So if you're taking your master's courses on your way to your PhD, you may actually be in class with virtual classmates. These students are generally working full-time, and they could be located really anywhere in the United States. We also have 8 academic departments. Oh, I'm pleased to see that Dr. Sukhatme has just joined us. So I will go ahead and give him a proper introduction in just a few slides. So we'll welcome him shortly. So we have 8 academic departments within the Viterbi School of Engineering. Of course, our Department of Computer Science is one of them, and it is actually one of the largest departments at our school. We have 60 Master of Science programs, including several new disciplines within computer science, such as data science, and we have 13 PhD programs, including a PhD in computer science. We do have a large engineering alumni network worldwide, so that's 65,000 Trojan engineers worldwide. We have 180 tenure-track faculty, and for those of you considering a PhD, we actually have 45 research centers and labs within the engineering school alone. Just really broadly what we're looking for in a PhD application, certainly Professor Sukhatme can tell you more about what's going on specifically in computer science, but for all of our PhD applicants, we're looking for, at a very minimum, a bachelor's degree in engineering, math, or science. Of course, many of our students do have a master's as they apply to the PhD. The computer science department specifically is looking for a substantial background in computing. We have an online application. We do require the GRE, and that's the general GRE, so no subject test is required. Specifically on the GRE, we're looking for a very strong quantitative score on that test. And if you do take the GRE more than one time, you may submit the highest combination of scores, so that means your highest quantitative and your highest verbal. We are going to look thoroughly at your transcripts, and generally for our PhD applicants, we do say that a 3.5 GPA and above is considered competitive. However, we certainly don't have minimum scores, but that's just to give you a ballpark. For those of you who are international students, we will be requiring a TOEFL or an IELTS. On the TOEFL exam, you'll be required to submit a 100 or above TOEFL score in order to waive any future English requirement. All of our PhD applicants must submit 3 letters of recommendation and a statement of purpose. We recommend for the letters that those come from faculty who know you well, especially if you have a faculty member who has worked with you in a research capacity. That can be very valuable towards your application. And the statement of purpose is actually very significant for the PhD application. This is where you're going to tell us in 1 to 2 pages what your research background is and what your intended area of research is at USC. You know, of course, we're looking for very strong students for the PhD application, but above and beyond, we want to see a demonstrated research ability and clear experience. We only have one deadline for the PhD, and that's December 15th. So if you're interested in applying for fall 2016, your deadline would be December 15th of this year. You would need to have a complete application package and all materials submitted by December 15th. We do have an opportunity for those of you who are sophomores or juniors. You would need to be a citizen of the United States or Canada, and we are looking for strong students for this. This is our summer undergraduate research experience. This is a great opportunity for you to get paid research experience. You would work alongside USC faculty for next summer, 2016. We would also cover your housing and round-trip travel as well. And we do have a number of computer science-related projects who are already submitting to SHORE. So we will actually open this application in a few weeks, so check back with us in the middle of November. A few next steps to get started with the PhD. We have a number of resources for you on our PhD webpage. So this page has more detail on computer science, including information like recent dissertation topics. Also, we have some placement data of where our PhD graduates are going. Again, the summer research program is an opportunity for you to really preview the PhD program here. And again, that's open to sophomores and juniors who are citizens of the U.S. or Canada. We also have an opportunity for those of you who want to preview the PhD program. This is our visitation event called REACH. It's also our diversity initiative. So if you are from an underrepresented group, including women in the STEM fields, we would love to see you apply for the REACH program. This will be a 2-day visitation event taking place in the spring. So now I'm going to hand it off to our special guest, and I'll open up the presentation for him. Just want to make sure, let's see. Dr. Sukhatme, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay, great. Well, as I said, Professor Sukhatme is a Dean's Professor and Chair of the Computer Science Department here at USC, so there's probably no one better to talk to you about computer science here. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to you. And Professor Sukhatme, I've given you presenter rights, so you can use the arrow at the top of your screen to click through your slides.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura.
Great.
And it's a pleasure to meet all of you remotely who may be listening to this presentation. I'd like to take a little bit of time to tell you about the computer science PhD at USC, to tell you a little bit about our department, and to invite you to consider us in your plans for graduate study. So I'd like to begin by saying that computer science is a huge, big deal at USC. It's a family, a constellation of entities on campus that make up the computing enterprise at USC. At the core of this enterprise is the computer science department itself. We also have a division of computer engineering, which is within the electrical engineering department. We have several major institutes, the Information Sciences Institute, ISI, the Institute for Creative Technologies, ICT, and the Integrated Media Systems Center, IMSC. And the way these institutes operate is that researchers at these institutes have faculty appointments in the Department of Computer Science. And so if you come to USC to pursue a PhD in computer science, you have the possibility of working with faculty who make their homes at one of these institutes or centers. In addition, we have something on campus called the High Performance Computing Center, which provides high-performance computing services to the community. We also have a couple of programs which are focused primarily on undergraduate and master's education, the informatics program and the information technology program. So it's important to realize that USC is a fairly large computer science department by many measure. And one measure is the amount of money the U.S. federal government spends on computer science research and development. And in fact, USC is first nationally on this list. If you want to look up the statistics, I've included a URL at the bottom of the slide. So CS at SC is a big deal. We have a department and many institutes and centers, and our faculty have appointments in these places. And there's a wide variety of subjects you can study here as a consequence of having this big umbrella. So to give you some sense for our numbers, the department was established in the late 1960s. It's one of the older computer science departments in the country. Today we have approximately 80 primary faculty in the computer science department. We have about 250 PhD students, something in the neighborhood of 1,300 master's students, and nearly 1,000 undergraduates. The 80 faculty, 37 are tenure track faculty, 33 are research faculty, and 10 are teaching faculty. There's a couple of charts on this slide that I'm showing right now, and it's a look at all our alumni. If you look at the figure on the left, you'll see it's a snapshot. The snapshot was taken about 2 years ago, so it's a little bit outdated, about 18 months ago. But it gives you a rough sense for how our alumni are distributed. It's a view of all students we've graduated. We've graduated something over 10,000 students since the department began. About 6,500, two-thirds, have been master's students. About 2,500, close to 2,600, have been undergraduates. And about something in the neighborhood of 600 plus have been PhD graduates. So when you apply to the PhD program at USC, if you decide to matriculate here for your doctoral studies, you'll be following in the footsteps of more than 600 people who've obtained their PhD degrees here at USC in computer science. If you drill down into the PhD alumni, which is what the panel on the right shows, we've produced upwards of 600 PhDs, of which you can see a substantial number are in academic positions, about 180 of them. A substantial number are in industrial research positions, about 78. About a third are in other industry occupations. Several are pursuing entrepreneurship type activities, and then there's an amorphous group that's pursuing a mixture of these activities or something else. In terms of the current faculty, it's important to note that in addition to the primary faculty in the department, we also have a number of professors at USC whose home departments are outside computer science, but these faculty are jointly appointed in computer science. So, for example, there are faculty in electrical engineering who have a joint appointment in computer science. There are faculty in neuroscience with a joint appointment in computer science. There are faculty in molecular biology with a joint appointment in computer science. And so, in fact, if you look at the number of faculty who have either a primary or a joint appointment in computer science, the number is upwards of 100. At last count, it's somewhere around 115. What this means in practice is that the number of PhD mentors that you have available to you is very, very high. This is one way to think about USC as a very unique place in which to pursue your PhD. The sheer diversity of topics you can study here is, I think, captured well in the large number of potential PhD faculty mentors that are available for computer science at USC. I'll skip to the next slide. A little bit about the department. Several of the faculty in the department are very eminent in their own fields. We have one Turing Award winner in the faculty, Professor Len Edelman. We have another faculty member who's won the Gödel Prize twice, Professor Shenghua Teng. We have 3 members of the National Academy of Engineering. We have nearly 20 fellows of the IEEE, the AAAI, the ACM, and the AAAS. These are professional societies in which faculty are very active. We have 2 university professors. All the junior faculty in the department have won the prestigious NSF Career Award. We've had multiple MIT TR35 winners, and we are fairly well known for some foundational work that faculty have done, and also for having an incredibly high research volume. So these are a few highlights. There's a lot more I could say if we had more time, but hopefully this gives you something of a snapshot. Now, in terms of research emphases, having a large number of faculty means that we also have very diverse research areas that we explore. Broadly, the department is divided into 3 groups, the Autonomous Systems Group, the Computing at Scale Group, and the Foundations of Computing Group. Autonomous systems research at USC in computer science spans many areas such as agents and computer vision and decision systems and human-machine interaction, machine learning, and NLP, and neural networks, perception, robotics, virtual characters, software architecture. So it's a huge diversity of topics. Each one consists of faculty and PhD students working together in these areas, and several faculty, of course, span multiple areas. In computing at scale, which is largely the systems side of computer science, we focus on big data, big geometry, big software, computational social science, distributed systems, graphics, visualization, high-performance computing, mobile systems, security. So this is sort of our computing at scale area. And then, of course, there's the foundations of computing area, which is more theoretical computer science, where our primary foci are algorithms and complexity. And these areas are fairly big. In some cases, there's clusters of faculty working in each area, and in some cases, there's smaller groups. The areas are roughly spread out over research that happens on the main USC campus, research that happens at the Information Sciences Institute, ISI, and research that happens at the Institute for Creative Technologies, ICT. And you can see in this chart that I've added a little legend at the bottom that says roughly where the research happens. In some cases, you can see it happens in multiple places. This, of course, is one of our strengths because our faculty, many of our faculty have primary homes at the two research institutes. And so their research laboratories and offices are at the institutes, and that's where they do most of their work. This hopefully gives you an idea that the research is spread out over all parts of CS at SC. That in fact, being involved in the department means being able to find a home at one of the participating centers and working with a faculty mentor who has a faculty appointment in the computer science department. So one of the things that our faculty are very keen on is doing research with consequence. So faculty are highly motivated by working in areas where they can have an impact, a measurable, sizable impact on domains outside computer science. And this, in fact, is a trend in computer science more broadly. USC is proud of the fact that we are, in some sense, trendsetters in this respect. That our faculty have always engaged with disciplines and areas and domains outside computer science. And I'm naming here 5 major areas, health, energy, environment, internet and mobile services, and national security. And these are areas that are very much in the news today and areas that, in fact, are being transformed because of computer science. And many of our faculty work on research projects that are at the intersection of health and computer science, or energy and computer science, or the environment and computer science. Certainly, many of you will be familiar with commerce, data centers, and games as connected to computer science. And of course, you'll be familiar with secure systems, trusted computing, security issues as they pertain to the intersection of privacy, law, and other disciplines, and their intersection with computing. And so, in addition to sort of working these core areas that I showed you in the previous slide, you can think of our faculty as an interesting mix of people who work at the intersection of these core computing areas and application domains or areas. And much of the interest and excitement happens at these intersections. While this is largely focused on our PhD program, the computer science department also has thriving undergraduate and master's programs. This is just sort of to give you a sense that broadly the foci are in the undergraduate and master's level, we prepare primarily students for a career in cutting-edge industry. The PhD program is highly selective. It's somewhat less than 10%. All students are fully funded, and typically alumni tend to go to careers in research, either in industry or in labs or in academia, or they go into development-type careers in industry. A little bit of bragging. While we don't set tremendous store by rankings, understanding that they can be somewhat arbitrary in their outlook, here are some that regard us quite favorably. We've been ranked by several different organizations as one of the elite computer science departments, 10th on the Microsoft top organizations in CS list. We are 14th on the U.S. News and World Report ranking of global universities in computer science. We are 20th on the U.S. News and World Report rankings of CS departments in the U.S. We are 10th on the Shanghai Jiaotong academic rankings of universities all across the world in computer science. We also have been ranked number 1 in games by the Princeton Review. And so we're proud of the fact that external constituencies have recognized us and have recognized us as a distinguished place for computer science. And we think that this speaks very well of the quality of our faculty and also of our PhD students. So there are a few things you should remember. If you choose to pursue a computer science PhD at USC, it's important to note that at USC, a computer science PhD means that you will be fully financially supported, either through a fellowship or through a research assistantship or a teaching assistantship, as long as you're in good academic standing. This is something we do for all our PhD students in computer science. It also means that you'll have the freedom to choose your PhD advisor. We have 80-plus faculty who regularly mentor CS PhD advisees. This is a tremendously diverse set of potential PhD mentors. very, very atypical, other than for a small, small number of departments. The third thing I wanted to point out is that you'll be in a degree program that's remarkably flexible in terms of course choices. And this is something that is the result of a carefully created PhD set of requirements that our department enacted recently, and they give students an unprecedented amount of choice in designing their own program for when they pursue a PhD. This new PhD program is, if you're interested in the details of the program, there's a URL at the bottom of this slide. You can look it up. It has all the details of the program. There's lots of freedom to choose coursework. There's an annual evaluation by faculty, so students get systematic feedback as they progress through the degree. There is a teaching requirement that requires students to engage in the teaching enterprise by serving as teaching assistants, and there's lots of interesting things. It's a highly, highly flexible program with lots of potential PhD mentors. And so this is a very, very nice feature of the program as well. And so I wanted to leave you with this idea that computer science at USC is a broad and very successful and visible enterprise. And it's an exciting place to come do research in computer science. And if you're thinking about a PhD program, I think it would be an excellent decision to make to consider our program when you decide where to apply. We're a friendly group of people. The faculty here really care about their students. They form long-lasting bonds with their students. And we have a very nice, diverse set of faculty and students and residents. And I'd like to encourage you to consider us in your plans as you decide where to apply for prospective PhD programs. And I'll stop here and turn it over to Laura.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. I guess I was on mute. So, Professor Sukhatme, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So the question I have for you, would you encourage PhD applicants to contact faculty by email separately from the application process?
Generally speaking, the application process goes through a central committee in the department. And so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to contact faculty other than to let them know you've applied. Individual faculty don't make the decision about who to admit. So it doesn't hurt to let faculty know, but if you approach them with a view to sort of judging whether your chances of getting in are good or bad, they usually can't help you because it's a committee decision that's made only when all the applications are received. It is important, though, when you apply, the application will present you with the choice of listing a few faculty that you're interested in working with. And it is important there, as far as possible, to try to list the people that you'd potentially be interested in working with. That doesn't lock you into working with them by any means, but it gives the faculty some sense of where your current interests lie.
Great, and we do have a question from one of our attendees. So would you encourage or discourage if a PhD candidate is coming from 20-plus years of industry experience rather than coming directly from academia?
So we're agnostic about it. We take all PhD applicants and treat them essentially the same. We've certainly had PhDs come to the department who've been out in industry for a while. And we certainly have no bias for or against such a preparation. So I'd invite students with all kinds of backgrounds to apply.
Okay, great. I have a student asking about bioinformatics. Would you have any information on that, or would that be a separate department?
No. So, in fact, I would strongly encourage students with an interest in bioinformatics to apply to us. They can also apply to other departments at USC, but bioinformatics is a program, is a specialization within computer science that several faculty are active in. So we have some faculty who are appointed in the biological sciences department who have a joint appointment in computer science. And these are largely genomics, proteomics type people who work in bioinformatics. And so they mentor computer science students quite actively. We also have faculty who are active in machine learning and data mining with applications to biological systems, and they too are active in bioinformatics. And so I would suggest that applying to computer science is certainly one way to study bioinformatics at USC. Another way to do it is to apply to molecular biology or to biomedical engineering, which are also programs that have faculty who are active in this area.
Great, and this is a question I think you covered, but just to clarify, so the acceptance rate of the programs, I know students are interested to see how competitive the PhD program is. Did you say that was about 10%?
Yeah, it's a little less than 10% of the people who apply are admitted.
Okay. This is an interesting question about, specifically, do you know anything about USC's research in the area of autonomous or self-driving vehicles?
So we work quite a bit in robotics, particularly in autonomous robots, applied to a variety of different settings, air, land, and sea. Some aspects of that are closely tied to autonomous vehicles. We don't have a separate autonomous vehicles program. We also have faculty in computer networking who are working on smart connected cars and the like. So we work on various aspects of autonomous vehicles, not necessarily integrated systems of autonomous vehicles as people do in industry.
Great. This is a question about academic background. Is there a difference between applying to the PhD with just a bachelor's or applying with a previous master's degree?
So we accept applications from people with a bachelor's degree as well as with students who've had a master's degree. There's really no difference other than students who've had a master's already may have had some graduate courses already. But we don't really require a master's degree. In fact, the large majority of students who apply have a bachelor's degree only. And we don't actually consider it either an advantage or a disadvantage. The important thing to realize is that the faculty are largely evaluating prospective applicants and trying to assess research potential. And if there's evidence of research potential, either through undergraduate research or through research that you've done in the master's degree, then that's fine. It's not per se having a master's degree that makes you different or stand out compared to other applicants. It's really any evidence that students have of research potential that sets them apart from the students who don't have such evidence.
Great. I've got a question here. This is another interesting one. Do you know if we have any faculty working on brain-to-machine interfaces?
Yeah, so we have faculty who work extensively in neuroimaging and on neuroprosthetics. We have some faculty who collaborate with others who work on the interface aspects, but primarily our interests are in imaging and in modeling and brain simulation and brain prosthetics. Those are kind of the related areas in which our faculty work.
Okay, great. Let's see here. There's a few questions about the GRE. So I've just shared our average GRE scores with all the participants, but just to keep that in mind, that's the averages for all of our programs. So we don't specifically have just for our CS applicants, but just to give you an idea, we are looking for a very strong quantitative score. Would you have anything to add about GRE scores in terms of how important they are for the PhD application?
So I think, they're one component of what we look at. it's almost certainly the case that the GRE alone is not a determining factor in terms of which students are selected for admission. Clearly, having a good quantitative score is an important thing. But I would encourage students to take the GRE and do their best at it and then report it, and not in some sense consider themselves either at an advantage or disadvantage just based on the GRE score. Generally, the faculty are focused on reading the entire application from a student, and this means assigning importance to all aspects of the application. The scores are one aspect. The undergraduate or master's GPA is another aspect. Grades in certain courses taken in the undergraduate degree or in a master's program are important. And perhaps most important is any evidence of potential in doing research, such as prior research experience or projects. So all of these things come together, and we try and form a picture of the applicants based on them.
Okay, great. Here's a question about academic background. The question is, are you looking for a certain type, is there a bias regarding undergraduate university type, for example, if a student did their degree traditionally or online? Could you speak to that?
Yeah, we don't have any. We'll take each case on a case-by-case basis. So, as long as students have completed a recognized bachelor's degree, we'll assess their preparation based on the materials they submit. So we don't have any blanket sort of yes or no's. And students have come to the program from a wide variety of sort of undergraduate preparation.
Okay, great. So this is a question that I actually have. We've talked about the statement of purpose a bit, but I'm wondering if you have any advice for what type of content you're looking for in a strong statement of purpose.
So in a statement of purpose, it's important not just to recap one's academic career so far, because after all, in the application, you're required to submit a transcript and so on. So you've already enumerated everything you've done. I think a statement of purpose really should be largely forward-looking. It can have some summary of your preparation, but it largely needs to be about your vision for the future. Where do you see yourself in the future, and how do you feel that a doctoral degree at USC will help you get there? That's, I think, the most important question to answer. And the other is, I think the statement of purpose should be as focused as possible. So while many of us begin a PhD thinking we'll work in one area and then we change our mind, I think that's perfectly fine. But it is important when you apply to candidly discuss what you have in mind at that time. We fully understand that can change, and we don't intend to lock students into that. But we like to see students who have a goal and have something of a plan to get to that goal. And we understand that this can change over time, but we'd like to see that the student has put some thought into it, and that makes for a compelling statement of purpose. So forward-looking and focused are the two most important things that I would suggest.
Great, that's very helpful. I know students are anxious always about their GPA. That's certainly something in your application that you really can't go back and fix, but would you have any advice for students who don't have the sort of 3.5 and above that we recommend in a GPA? Are there other opportunities in the application to show us their potential?
Yeah, I mean, one opportunity is, in fact, the statement where you can speak directly to the admissions committee, as it were. The other is any evidence that you've engaged in activities outside the classroom, particularly research activities. So if there are projects that you've done where, you've published or you've done other creative work, those, I think, very often form an important aspect of the application. And so I'd encourage students to really use those opportunities carefully as a way of presenting the best possible application. So
here is a pretty specific research question. This is a student who has done prior research in cryptography and network security, and they're wondering if there's any opportunities to combine these areas in a research project at USC.
Yeah, we have a number of faculty who will work in theoretical aspects of security, largely on crypto. We also have some people working on system security and also now some people working in privacy. And so there's interesting opportunities in all of these areas, absolutely.
You mentioned that a number of the PhD graduates go on, and a large proportion go on into industry positions.
Yeah.
Can you name like some of the companies where our recent graduates are going?
So recent grads have gone to all kinds of companies. I mean, several have gone to Google. Many have gone to Facebook. Some recent grads have joined Twitter, Microsoft. We've, of course, had graduates go to, older companies, Cisco. Virtually every big internet company has USC graduates in it. Also a variety of smaller and mid-level companies. Yeah, so a fairly good representation in almost all the top places.
So I know that you mentioned that the PhD application process is highly competitive. Do you ever have PhD students here who have started as master students at USC, progressed through their masters and then applied to the PhD and proceeded on to that at USC?
Yes, we do. We do require students to reapply. So once they are nearing the end of their master's with us, they have to formally apply to the PhD program. And it is the case that some of them do, and that some of them are admitted to the PhD program and do very well and succeed. So that does happen.
And I have one more question as we're waiting to see if we have any final questions from the attendees. So you mentioned that students will put 3 faculty names on the application. So when does the faculty mentor-student match process happen? Will a student know their mentor at the time of admission?
So it's the answer is it happens differently for different students. For some students, we may be able to make a mentor match that's satisfactory to the student and the mentor at admission time itself. For others, if that's still difficult to do at that time, we are happy to make admissions offers with no assigned mentor, and the student can find a mentor when they come to campus. So it depends a little bit on whether the student is able to find a match that they like early on in the process, or whether they actually need to come to campus, be here for a while before they find the mentor. And so we get both types of entering students. We encourage students to try and find a mentor before they arrive to campus by interacting with faculty that they're interested in working with. But sometimes this is not possible, and so we're flexible about it.
So here's a question, again, talking about how, so many of our labs and research centers are interdisciplinary. So this student is interested in neuroengineering, but they have a background in computer science. So would you recommend that they apply to computer science or to our biomedical engineering department?
I think if their background is in computer science, probably best if they applied to computer science. Which may make sort of the core requirements of it more navigable. It's certainly possible to work in bioengineering, neuroengineering while pursuing a PhD in computer science. So there's absolutely no reason why not. Now, another strategy is if the student who's considering this has considerable preparation in biomedical engineering as well, either through some electives they've taken or otherwise, it is also possible to apply to both departments. We generally don't recommend applying to both if there's a clear winner. But if your preparation is such that the degree is in one, but you have extensive experience in the other, it's not an unreasonable thing to apply to both and to state this.
So if a student was interested in working with one of the divisions you mentioned, like ISI or ICT, is there anything they need to indicate on the application, or do they just include that in their statement of purpose?
Yeah, they should just include it in their statement of purpose, but they don't need to indicate anything. It's more important to indicate sort of which faculty they want to work with. And if those faculty have homes and labs at ISI or ICT, then that's where they'll automatically end up working. So I'd encourage students to browse our website to try and understand which faculty would likely make good mentors for them. And then at the time of the application, there's a drop-down menu that allows students to choose which faculty they're interested in working with, and encourage students to signal the ones that they're interested in.
So I think I've got one final question here, or maybe actually a couple of questions. Let's see. I'll try to answer this. It's asking about the timeline. So when generally are the admissions decisions made? So if a student's applying now for fall 2016, would you say when the time frame is for admission decisions?
Yeah, so we typically make our first round admissions decisions in January, within a month of receiving all applications. And so certainly by the end of January, we let students know. Sometimes this can be in the first week of February, but we typically end of January, early February timeframe, we have at least one round of decisions. There's often one other round that comes out a little bit later. We also invite students to come visit us for visit days, so that typically happens in March. And we want students to come to campus once we make them an admission offer and to come meet us. And we would like to encourage students to explore that once they've received their offer of admission. So typically decisions are made very soon, early in the spring.
So I think I'll take this one final question here for you. I know our engineering students always want to hear information in terms of data and statistics. So this question is, what are the odds of becoming a faculty member in a top university after obtaining a PhD in USC? So maybe you could talk about, is there a percentage of graduates that do go on to academia versus industry?
Yeah, so, we've recently placed a fair number of students into academic jobs. In the last 5 years, we've had PhD grads from here get faculty positions at Brown, at Johns Hopkins, at Texas A&M, at Virginia Tech, Purdue, to name a few. So computer science is the kind of field where there's a large number of people who go to careers in industry, even if they want to research. So the fraction of total available jobs in academia is much smaller because there is such a large number of opportunities available in industry. But in the last decade or so, particularly, we've done very well in placing students at excellent faculty positions. And of course, international students, many of them tend to go back to their home countries and become faculty there. So I think we have a good track record, particularly recently in this area.
Well, thank you so much. I also want to thank the attendees for all the great questions today. Dr. Sukhatme, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to teach us more about CS at USC. So I'll just leave it to you. Do you have any sort of final words of advice for our audience?
No, I'd like to wish everybody the best of luck, and I'd strongly encourage them to consider USC in their plans.
Great. Well, thank you to everyone today. We will be sending you the presentation slides. We have been recording this session, so we will send that recording out to the attendees when that's ready. If you have any additional information, you can certainly communicate with my office, the graduate programs team. But thank you again to everyone, and we hope to see you apply to USC. Thank you.
Thank you.